Hi, everyone, and welcome. My name is Nicole Gillen, and today I have a special guest, Lucien Simpson, and I'm going to introduce him in a moment. But welcome to 30-Minute Memoirs. And this is really a take on all the things that happen to individuals who suffer from serious mental illness, but it's about hope, and it's about all the ways that people overcome this terrible illness. So let me take a step back before I get into it, do some introductions, and then we'll dive into today's topic. So who am I? Well, I'm a former IT executive, spent 35 years fighting the battle on the IT front, but decided to write a book to help anyone in this complicated space of schizophrenia and serious mental illness when my daughter got diagnosed. And I saw what it did to her and how much I struggled to get my arms around how to best help her. My book that I wrote addresses everything you need to know to help yourself and your loved one who might have this terrible illness. But today, it's not about my book. It's about the community. So why 30-minute memoirs? Well, I realized in the process of writing this book and trying to publish it that this community has very little voice. There's all sorts of people talking on the outside, but not necessarily talking on the inside. And so I wanted to open it up to the good, the bad, and the ugly of managing this disease. And there's a lot of ugly. There's a lot of ugly that comes into the disease that we all have to deal with. So what are we hoping to accomplish? Well, shed light on those challenges, but also show how resilient this community is. To show those victories and moments of success despite those challenges, and to focus on one area in each memoir. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and share my screen for a quick minute so everyone sees what we're talking about. All right, so today we're going to talk about financial related issues around SSI and SSDI. That's going to be the main focus of today's conversation. And really leading today's conversation is Lucien Simpson with his adorable puppy. And Lucien is a retired paralegal and contracts administrator for the US government. Lucien is a success story. And Lucien has a fascinating story that he's going to tell. And he actually contributed to my book, which makes Lucien very near and dear to my heart. So I'm going to go ahead now and come out of the presentation because I want everyone to see Lucien's face and really hear from this man and see what he's all about. So I'm going to put myself on mute. Lucien, tell us your story, baby.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I'm 58 years old. I suffer from, well, I don't suffer, I have schizoaffective disorder, the depressive type. I have a general anxiety disorder, and I have a little touch of ADD. And that's enough of that. But I'm a retired paralegal slash contracts administrator. And I've been fighting mental illness probably 50 years. Back and forth, I started on Ritalin very early in my childhood. And, it's just been a battle to understand what the correct diagnosis should have been all those years ago. I don't even think schizoaffective was in the diagnostic manuals. But that's pretty much about me. I like to advocate for, the mental health community because, as Nicole said, we don't really have a voice. And for those of us that can speak up and advocate, I think it's our responsibility to do so.
Well, and I think you
Okay.
told me you've had to do this largely on your own. You've had to
Yes.
figure out everything, the kinds of supports you needed, treatment, managing doctors, all of it. How did you do this on your own?
Well, it was trial and error. Early on in my journey, it was, I call it medication babysitting. It was a doctor shooting some medication off at me and had them saying, okay, you should be better now. And I wasn't. I kept having all of these thoughts and feelings, and I suffer from auditory hallucinations. So I was having those, and it was really interfering with my college, and my career, and people would be like, why do you stop dead in the middle of a conversation? I said, well, because I'm having 25 of them up here,
Mm.
and people, just didn't understand, and, um, just getting through it day by day, talking with other people who suffer from mental illness, getting clues from them, and just kind of wiggling my way through, finding something that works and sticking with it, and um, just really trying to find the right medication, the right doctor-patient relationship, which is so important.
Yeah.
Um,
But
and
I honestly think you're underplaying it. I think you've had to show a lot of grit given, the fact that you've got a number of diagnoses that you've had to deal with, and you've had to sort through it as a paralegal, in a profession that requires concentration, deliberate understanding, follow through, all sorts of things that if you've got voices and delusions and all sorts of things coming at you, and the fact that you powered through it and managed to do this is huge grit.
well, I'm a stubborn person. I never take no for an answer, and that's probably why I had such a problem with my parents. I was just a stubborn child, and I'm a stubborn adult. I just, no, I do not take no for an answer. There's got to be a workaround. There's got to be some way that I can get over this hurdle. There's got to be something out there that can help me,
Well,
you know.
it's just impressive. So let me ask you then, you wanted to have, so I have the whole sort of all the different kinds of things that we could talk about today. And you wanted to focus on SSI, SSDI. Why?
Because I think that it's a game changer for most people who can no longer work due to their illnesses. It can provide you, um, you know, stability in housing, which is critical, food security, medication security. It's so important. And, a lot of people don't understand what to do, where to start. They don't understand what the qualifications are and what the differences are between the two, um, between SSI and SSDI. And I just think it's important for everybody to have the same information, so that they can make decisions, well-informed decisions on their lives. Is this beneficial for me? Or should I, just rely on a spouse? Or, I personally think that everybody would like to have some money coming in,
Oh,
you know.
absolutely. Well, and I was talking to someone recently and I said, tell me, how is it that if a doctor prescribes something for someone with schizophrenia and they leave their office and they don't have a roof over their head or enough money to go fill that prescription, how are they going to be compliant?
Right,
Bottom
right.
line, how are they going to be compliant? You can write that prescription all day long, but if you don't have the
Mhm.
basic money to do that, then what? So, if you were to give advice to someone who's new to this, who's been diagnosed and they're trying to figure out what's what would you tell them to do around SSI or SSDI?
I would tell them to find a local Social Security office and go in and tell their story and tell them that they need help, that they can no longer work,
Mhm.
and that they need help filling out the paperwork and gathering all the documentation that seems endless, but is necessary, and start the process. Get on there, even if you're denied. It's a booster to your self-esteem, and self-worth to know that, there is this program out there. There is a safety net. This is the United States of America, and if you've ever worked, you've put into the system, and this is just
Mhm.
like car insurance. It's if you can't work, you're able to collect a check. and just like, if you have a car accident, your insurance company pays for the repairs. We didn't have a choice to put into the system, and you know, why not take advantage of something that we're qualified for?
So when you first applied, did you run into any issues?
Yes, I did. I was denied.
What did
I
you
was
do?
denied. Um, well, I went home and I got rip roaringly drunk, because I was, I just said, oh, the heck with it, and, but, the next day I dusted myself off and I read through all the paperwork and the reason for the denial. Um, and I said, okay, so I'm going to appeal it. I have 45 days. So let me get my appeal in, and then I can start gathering the additional information that they wanted because I didn't have any information. I didn't know that they wanted doctor's notes,
Hmm.
therapeutic notes, medications on. I just went in there and said, I can't work, you know, um, and they said, well, tough cookies, you know. Um, it was disheartening, but I said, I'm stubborn.
So do
No.
people really need an attorney to apply for it? Did you have an advantage because of your paralegal work in understanding legal documents and things? So do people need an
Yeah,
attorney or no?
yeah. I think I had an edge. I think I had an edge because I knew, that there had to be some kind of appeal process. I knew that, it's the government. You never take no the first couple of times. You keep trying. And yeah, as far as having an attorney, I would say if you can get just a disability attorney on a contingency fee basis, which is they work for free until you get your benefits, and then they take a portion of, excuse me, they take a portion of your back pay because your benefits start from the moment you sign the document and hand it in to Social Security.
Yep.
Whether it's 2 years, a year, 6 months, 8 years, it doesn't matter. So a lot of people get a lot of lump sum payments, and that's what a contingency fee will do. It'll take usually 33 and a third percent,
Hmm.
and it's also good to have an attorney because the attorney can administer that lump sum payment so that you have a cushion, for rent,
Hmm.
furniture, food. It's really good to have a cushion because we all know it's easy to throw money at a problem and make it go away.
Right.
You know,
So from your experience, are there resources, websites, anything that people might want to go to? No. Okay.
no, no, not that I'm aware of. You see all these crackpot scam sites, oh, you can get $3,200 a month on SSI and da, 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 and oh, your SSI is a one-time payment surplus benefit. No, no. I would
Yeah.
say, either with an attorney, yourself, go down and just talk to Social Security. My aunt worked there for 23, 24 years. Um,
Wow.
and she said, we were always there to help. She said they've scaled back a lot on their employees,
Mm.
um, to save money. But she's like, we're here to help. She's like, you can consider us financial case managers, so to speak. She said most of her coworkers and her were more than willing to, um, help,
Hmm.
start the process, fill this in, take this to your doctor, take this to your therapist,
Well,
get a list of premium.
it's an interesting point. I want to pause on that because as a caregiver, one of the challenges I had is in the process of applying for disability for my daughter, I had to get power of attorney because hospitals wouldn't release information to me. And if it went to her, it went into a black hole because she just couldn't process email. And
Right.
so, hospitals and doctors and everybody trying to get the information that SSI needed, or for her, it was SSDI. No, it was SSI. She's SSI, sorry. That, it was a real nightmare trying to just to get my hands on the basics, the doctor's notes, the diagnoses, all those kinds of things. Um,
Mhm.
but thankfully, I'm organized and I was able to get that power of attorney done. But otherwise, it's a real problem just trying to get the basic information because of HIPAA. And I would imagine since you were doing this on your own, you hopefully didn't have to run into any HIPAA issues.
No, I didn't, and, what really can help somebody is getting case management. Once again, going to, your state or local municipality and, getting some form of case management, because once you sign the agreement, to have case management, they don't have to get power of attorney to get your notes. They're signed on, and they can help you get those documents, because it can be daunting, because most people that have have an illness have bounced around,
Yeah.
from hospital to hospital, doctor to doctor. We're lost in a sea, of what do I do? What do I do? And
Well, and to that point, interestingly enough, I remember some of the case managers that we interacted with when she was in the hospital. She was in a couple hospitals. And unless you knew the question to ask, I found unfortunately a lot of case managers just, kind of gave you the basics. And even then,
yeah,
not even a lot of that. And, so what I would say to anyone out there who might be listening, that get to know your case manager and start to build your list of questions day one when your loved one's in the hospital. All the questions
yeah,
of, what they're diagnosing, what they're treating, what medicine are they using, what's the prognosis, what are the next steps, et cetera, and build that relationship so that whether it's a month or 6 months later, and now it's time to apply for SSI or SSDI, you can go back because they'll remember you because you were that person either with the illness or the caregiver who made a point of engaging with them and really trying to ask all the right questions.
right. Yes, it's very important to ask the right questions, because they are so overwhelmed,
Yeah,
and underpaid and overworked. Yeah, they don't think to say, why don't you apply for, Social Security
yeah,
now?
yeah,
And, in 2 months when she's released, you'll be that much further along the road. They don't tell you about programs and services, because they're just trying, I think, really, they're just trying to get through the day and make sure that their clients are okay, that they're getting everything they need. But, unless it's a problem that pops up and they tackle it, they're being reactive instead of proactive. And I don't think they have the time or the resources to be proactive.
yeah. I think you're 100% right. And so, as either the caregiver or the person with the illness, trying to do everything you can to get smart, which is impossible before
Mhm.
your loved one gets in the hospital, but to know as much information as you can so that when you're engaging with the case manager, you've got your list of questions that you can try to go through to pull out of them what you hopefully need to know to either help yourself or help your loved one.
Yeah,
So let me ask you this then.
definitely.
Let me pivot for a moment. So let's just say you've gotten SSI or SSDI or both. It's now 3 years later, 5 years later, and it's time to renew it. Have you gone through that process? I'm assuming you have.
Yes, I have, actually, twice. Um, I've been on Social Security disability income since 2003. Um, I've gone through two, I don't know what they call them, renewals. Um, Everyone gets freaked out, because they're like, "Oh my god, what if I lose my benefits? Oh my god, how am I going to get my medications? Oh my god." And it's I've got goosebumps now just thinking about it.
Yeah.
Um, you know, there's two different kinds of renewals. One comes out every year or two, and it's a 2-3 page document, And it just asks, some simple questions like, how are you doing? Is your condition better, same, or worse? I always check out worse. And I always do all my paperwork in red crayon because it sticks out, you know,
Do
and,
you really?
just a little humor. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Yep.
That's so
My
creative,
little red
Lucien.
pen.
No, but I love that.
Because
But
in
it's
that pile,
it's an interesting point doing it in red crayon or red marker or whatever.
Marco, yeah.
So, it really pops out of the pile.
Yeah, and they're more likely to say, "What is up with this Fruit Loop?" You know, "Why is he doing it in crayon?" And my renewals get done quickly, I've so as I said, there's 2 different kinds. There's the easy breezy one, and 6 months after you send it in, you'll get a letter back and it'll say, "We've decided not to review you at this time."
Yeah.
And then you go, but if you get a full on medical review, it's daunting. It's, a nice chunk of paper,
Yeah.
and a lot of questions, and your doctor has to fill things out, and your therapist has to fill things out.
Hmm.
And I know doctors and therapists that prefer not to fill anything out.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Well,
and
I
then
know.
and then you're caught. It's like, okay, I've been seeing this person for 2, 3 years. I need you now. I pay you, $500 an office visit. Help. And they don't care. They don't.
Any words of
They
wisdom
say,
along
"Oh
those
well, we
lines?
don't do Yeah, I tell them that it's borderline malpractice. It's part of the treatment process.
Mm-hmm.
My stability is not only mental, but physical. I
Yeah.
need to have that money coming in so I can maintain, my apartment and everything else that comes along with it. And just be stiff with them, be stiff and stand your ground, and always know that they work for you,
Yeah.
not the other way around.
I know. I
You
know.
know, back
I
in the day, we used to, high glory doctors and nurses, that they were someone special and they know more than us. And that's not necessarily the case. They're just human beings like us. They put their pants on one leg at a time.
really, is that how
Just
people
be
do
tough.
it? Yeah. No, I mean you're absolutely right. I mean it's about it's being firm, it's engaging with them on their level, but it's also making sure they understand the implications of not, giving you what you need in a timely fashion. Because at this point, right, there's a clock ticking. And the problem is so say they give you the information, you submit the packet, and then, the government comes back with questions or wait, what about this and what about that? And so you've got to have plenty of time in which to get all this done. So it
Right.
is,
And Social Security is pretty good about doing it.
yeah,
They're pretty good about giving you time, Social Security does.
yeah. Well, so let me ask you
Yeah.
this. Um, in where you are today, if you were to look back, and this is an open-ended question. This could be related to SSI or SSDI or anything in general. What do you wish you'd known along the journey?
I thought about this question, and there's so much, but I think the biggest thing I would like to have known was about medication,
Mm,
and that it's my choice to take a pill or not. And if I'm having a bad reaction to it, I don't want to wait 6 weeks. If I'm having side effects, week 2, and they're interrupting my life.
yeah,
Um, I would have liked to have known medication, how it interacts in my body, what's the titration rate, what's the therapeutic level, not just, in the hospital, they go, medication management, know your pills. This little yellow one is this, and this little blue one is this, and this little pink one is this, and you should know what you're taking so you don't take the wrong thing. That's fine and dandy, but I just really wish I had known that there were alternatives. I didn't know. I didn't have my handy dandy trusty DSM manual back then, and I do now. And I really wish I had known more about medication.
Yeah, it's an interesting point. I find, unfortunately, doctors and hospitals often don't understand the kind of information that people need to understand. And that kind of information is everything from, as you talked about, impact on, reactions and things like that. It's efficacy. It's, how is it going to impact your vitals, your blood pressure? What about your, if you get a blood draw, and what are those markers that you're looking for, and doctors telling a patient, oh, actually we should measure your, for example, clozapine level. You should know that, and you should understand what that
Yeah,
means to you as a patient, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And there's so
yeah,
many
and
issues around that.
there really are, because things like kidneys and liver and
Yes.
diabetes. There are some pills that make you gain weight, some pills that
Yeah.
drive your blood pressure and blood sugar up, and you don't probably want to be on those. If you're borderline diabetic, you probably don't want to be on a medication that drives your blood sugar up.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
that there are other alternatives out there that you can try. And you work with your doctor closely, and you find the right one, you tweak the dose, and you know God willing, everything clicks and falls into place.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. That's excellent. Well, I know we are starting to run out of time. So, what I want to do to wrap things up is I want each of us to give a positive statement. And that positive statement can be about where you are, it could be about friends and family, it could be about your hope for the future, whatever it is. From your perspective, what fills you with hope and with just joy?
um I think getting up every morning and liking myself and finding myself worthy. um I know I have my dog. He gets me up quite early. um just that there's hope, that you can recover, that you can find some level of functioning that you're comfortable with, and don't be afraid to take that initial step in anything you pursue, because you take the first step, the other foot's going to follow, and the next thing you know, you'll be further down that road than you ever thought you could be.
That's beautiful. You know what mine is? People like you. People
Well,
like
thank
you.
you.
No, I mean, bottom line, right? I mean, the grit you've shown over the course of your life, the perseverance, the sort of trying to get your arms around what's happened to you to live the fullest life that you can lead. I just think it's beautiful. And it gives me hope for my daughter and other people that I've met who also struggle with this illness. So
Mhm.
thank you, Lucien. Thank you for coming on today.
You're welcome. It
Um,
was fun.
Thank you for sharing your story and your thoughts. For anyone else out there who's interested, you can find me on my Facebook page at SMI Caregiver, or my website, schizophrenia-caregiver.com. Yes, I know it's a mouthful. And of course, there's my book, which I'll try to show on screen. Sometimes it shows, oh, it's showing,
Yeah, sure.
which is Schizophrenia and Related Disorders, a handbook for caregivers, which is on Amazon and soon to be on Barnes and Noble.
The must
Thank you.
read.
And a must read. And it has all sorts of stuff on SSI and SSDI.
Mhm.
So thank you very much, and have a great day. Thanks.